Well, the analysts say we should go from about 111 million this year to the neighborhood of 150. So we're busy.
Mr. Sharp, Jim Cramer here. Could you please tell us which of the candidates, which of your customers are really doing all the big ordering so we can try to figure out who next quarter is going to show some pretty amazing gains?
Well, to tell you the truth, our customers are doing very well, and we're very diversified. We have over 20 customers that we did $1 million with last year, and they're basically the top of all of the wired and wireless communication sectors. And the whole area is doing very, very well.
Where then how do you then grow your business? If your customers, is it just an organic growth? As the customer's business grows, yours grows, and if your customers slow down, you slow down?
No, not at all. We're penetrating new applications, and the whole market is growing. So we're basically enjoying a more market or application penetration of gallium arsenide besides just the growth of the communication sectors in general.
What's your gross profit margin look like?
Our gross profit margin has been just under 40%.
Okay. Now, what are the barriers to entry here? Because with a 40% gross margin, I would imagine a lot of people would say, hey, you know, that looks like a good business to get into.
Yeah. Well, it's not easy to get into. First, gallium arsenide is still pretty primitive compared to silicon science. So it takes a lot of technology, more so than to get into the silicon business, a lot. It takes linear design engineers, and if you know the story of Maxim Linear, these people are very difficult to find and train and keep. So it's technically a challenge to get in these markets.
Well, Mr. Sharp, you've done pretty well with it. We wish you the best of continued luck.
Well, thank you very much.
Stephen Sharp, Chairman and CEO, TriQuint Semiconductor. The Reverend Jim Bob Rogers for a minute now, if you will. You know, one thing we haven't had a chance to talk to you about is the proposal to lengthen trading hours. What do you think?
I have to view it, one, as a trader. It would be great for me. It would be great for my firm. Two, as a husband and dad, it would be a disaster. I do not believe that if you lengthen the hours, that a conscientious money manager can really go home anymore. If they're going to trade my stocks, I got to be there. I can't imagine trading them over dinner with a cell phone. I can't imagine that my delegating this to anybody else. These would be a disaster for home life. It would be unbelievable for our profit margins because these are the badlands. The markets trade very thin before and after. There won't be a lot of people around. I can digest and process information faster than most. It would be a bonanza for my firm, and it'd be a disaster for my home life.
All right. Still to come, we'll ask the research head at Piper Jaffray if he is having trouble finding value in this market. Next, though, before the bell, look at the action. Martha McCollum, what are you working on?
Thanks, Mark. Well, we are looking at a higher open. We have upgrades on Viacom, price increase for Lexmark coming from Merrill Lynch this morning, and I just spoke with the chief market strategist at DLJ. He said next week's indications are what we have to watch out for. When Squawk Box comes right back. Stay with us.
Weather update brought to you in part by Hewlett-Packard.
A computer confronts failure. Failure attacks. An opposing force neutralizes failure, reversing its energy, rendering its intentions useless.
Running the unstoppable Windows NT. The HP Vectra PC with Pentium 3 processor.
What position you play?
Well, I was Division I catcher in college.
Okay, catcher it is.
Let's go, nerd boy. No batter, no batter, no batter. Swing! You are horrible. Shut up. Look at you, like a girl. Swing! Grandpa. You're pathetic. Pop up to the infield. Did I call it or what?
No matter where your employees get hurt, Kemper Healthy Return Plus will help get them back to work faster. Kemper, insurance for today's world.
Welcome to Advanced Engine Technology.
You know, what's this do?
Only the Mazda Millennia S offers the Miller Cycle engine. A fuel-efficient V6 that performs like a V8.
First time, huh, mister?
Smart Money ranked Muriel Siebert & Company first in their latest survey of discount brokers, ahead of Schwab, E-Trade, Waterhouse, and everyone else.
You know how we got to be first? By putting our customers first.
Smart Money cited rave reviews from Siebert customers, speedy phone response, and the remarkably reliable SiebertNet website.
Whether you use our brokers or the internet, at Siebert, if you're dissatisfied with a trade for any reason, that trade is commission-free.
Siebert, with big commission savings, guaranteed service and fast response. Over 7,000 mutual funds, free checking, competitive margin rates, and new issues.
See why Smart Money ranks Siebert first.
Call the #1 discount broker toll-free at 1-888-4-SIEBERT, extension 10. Don't miss Siebert's Smart Money #1 celebration offer. For a limited time only, open an account and your first 2 trades are free.
Don't you think it's time you trade up to Siebert?
Hi, this is Martha McCallum on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We are looking at a slightly higher open as the market digests those numbers from the PPI and retail sales. Retail sales looking a little bit stronger than expected, so we do have some inflation concerns entering the market, and we will see how the market opens. A couple things to keep in mind this morning. Merrill Lynch raising their rating on Viacom to accumulate from buy this morning. They like the ex-blockbuster aspect of an investment in Viacom. Also raised their intermediate rating on Dean Foods from a neutral to an accumulate. Also want to tell you that Prudential this morning is cutting its target price on Clorox. CLX is the symbol for Clorox. It has gotten a nice boost over the past couple of months. Target 130. They think the target will be 130 to 135, and that is down from 150. So a target cut for Clorox coming in this morning from Prudential. Also, I just got off the phone a little while ago with Tom Galvin and Donaldson Lufkin and Jinrett, the chief market strategist over there. He says don't look for a whole lot to happen in the market ahead of next week. He says the CPI number is going to be the next focus for the market. Also, Greenspan's comments next week. He says really we've got the equity market looking for 1 Fed increase, and the bond market seems to be looking for 2. He's looking for 1. He says that looks like the extent of it. He says this is going to be a case where you're going to want to buy on the news in this case instead of selling on the news. So when we do get indeed that Fed increase from the Fed. So we're going to have a lot more to tell you when we come back. Stay with us. Squawk Box will be right back.
Today on Power Lunch.
We'll take your questions about individual stocks, both large and small cap. So give us a call, send us an email. It's Stock Picking Friday.
Power Lunch, today at noon at CNBC. Profit from it.
Stuart, can I see you in my office, please?
That kid is sick. That hinge is squeaky. Very sick.
Stuart, get in here.
Sure thing, Mr. P.
Stuart, I just opened my Ameritrade account.
Let's light this candle. Let's go to Ameritrade.com. It's easier than falling in love. What do you feel like buying today, Mr. P?
Kmart.
So research it. All this stuff is provided for you free of charge.
No cost.
Yeah, that's synonymous with free.
Looks like a good stock.
Let's buy.
Let's buy 100 shares.
All right, click it in there.
Okay.
How about 500?
100, Stuart.
Feel the excitement? You're about to buy a stock
okay.
online.
Oh! Fabulous. I'm thrilled. What did that cost me?
$8, my man.
Mike Broker charges me $200 for this
Riding
trade.
the wave of the future, my man. I gotta get a soda.
All right.
I'm sorry, Mr. P. I'm having a party on Saturday night. If you really want to go.
I'm going to try and get there. Thank
Happy
you, Stuart.
trading.
Thank you.
Rock on.
All right, Stuart.
Call toll-free 888-590-7003 or visit Ameritrade.com. Ameritrade, the way to trade, period.
Learn how to make money using Investors Business Daily.
Since I've started using Investors Business Daily, I've at least doubled or tripled my investment results.
IBD has helped me profit in the market tremendously.
I made 100% on my money.
Call to receive your free 2-week trial to IBD and also get free the new video, Maximizing Your Success.
Investors Business Daily. Buy it, use it, and profit.
Start making money today. Call 800-303-4779. Call now.
Mr. Duffy, I've been here for over a year now, and I'd like to talk about a raise. As you know, I've been coming in every weekend without complaint, and I have an MBA.
I like jujubes. The reds and the oranges, the best. They are like the king and queen of jujube land. The green and the yellow, they're peasants. One day, we're gonna have a jujube revolution.
So, what do you think?
Jujube.
It's time for E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online.
The opening bell is brought to you by E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online.
Members of the New York Giants ringing the opening bell. Dick Grasso always wanted to be on that team, but he wasn't fast enough. The futures are to the downside here in the early going by, what are they? Down a half a point. That's still more than 3 points above fair value, indicating we had higher. Let's go back down to the floor now, New York Stock Exchange. Martha McCollum, how's the early going?
Well, we are open a little bit lower, down about 4 points, and we're waiting for most stocks to open up down here. AOL has just opened. It is up about a 16th at $106 a share, and that is good news coming on the heels of yesterday's more than 5-point loss on the heels of Merrill comments that they were a little bit concerned about subscription rates and European subscription rates. So AOL... Actually, AOL is now trading unchanged, so we'll watch the direction of AOL for you. Also, IBM looks to be trading to the downside, down about a quarter of a point at 115. And to give you an idea of the financials, also unchanged at this point is Morgan Stanley Dean Witter trading at 88 and up a 16th, trading at 88 and 7/16, now open at 88 and 7/16. A couple areas to keep an eye on this morning. You're going to want to watch those chip stocks again. They have been very strong over the past couple of sessions, and this is a major positive indicator to a number of technical analysts that I've been speaking with. They say, you know, watch the chip stocks. If they continue to perform well, it's a good sign for the market that they're able to move higher on that good news and gain that momentum. So this morning, Morgan Stanley Dean Witter making some comments on Lattice Semiconductor, reinitiating coverage of Lattice at a strong buy. They say that it is undervalued compared to competitors Altera and Xilinx at 3 times 2,000 sales versus 8 times 2,000 sales for the other two. Also keep an eye on Viacom, raised to a buy from an accumulate over at Merrill Lynch. They like the post-blockbuster Viacom, and they think that's a good investment to keep an eye on. Also, Genzyme looking positive this morning. Earnings coming in better than expected at 49 cents a share versus first call estimates of 41 cents a share there. So that's going to be one to watch. Also, keep an eye on Clorox. The price target was cut on Clorox at Prudential to $130 to $135 a share. That is down from $150 a share. This is one of the consumer product stocks that has done very nicely over the past couple of months. So Clorox may be on the downside on the heels of that this morning. It is not open as we speak. So that's a look at the early going mark, and we'll keep an eye on things for you. We now have the Dow in positive territory by about 5 points. NASDAQ also looking up. Back to you, Mark.
All right, thank you, Martha McCollum. Scott Cohen at the NASDAQ market site. Now the Dow has switched to the upside as they open more issues. Futures are at a premium to fair value, so unless something really weird happens, we'll head up. What's going on over there, Scott?
All that build up to the number, Mark, and wasn't a whole lot. Now the NASDAQ is higher, and all of the internal indices on the NASDAQ, the different sectors are higher as well, with the exception of insurance, which is lower, but everything else is to the upside as we now wait for the other shoes to drop in the economic scene. Consumer price index, and of course, what is the Federal Reserve going to do? The analysts that I've been talking to were looking to the bond market for some direction, haven't gotten much, and so in the absence of that, we're moving somewhat higher. Let's show you some of the stocks that are in the news here, though. CMGI is getting punished, and punished badly, for the earnings news that it put out after the bell yesterday, a loss that was about twice what analysts had expected. The stock is down 6.3%, 6% this morning, down 6 7/16 at 95 or so on CMGI. This is a company, of course, that invests in other internet companies, and the loss coming in, as I said, about twice what analysts expected. Some saying you can't really look at operating earnings or losses for a company like this, but just the same, the stock getting punished. We're watching the software makers in light of the producer price index number. The techs are, of course, interest sensitive. Sun Microsystems will be meeting with analysts today. The stock is narrowly higher. Microsoft, which had taken a hit yesterday, is also higher today. Amgen is recovering a bit, along with the rest of the biotechs. Again, perhaps a little bit of relief here about the interest rate situation, and Amgen, of course, had been hit particularly hard yesterday. So we'll be watching that. Also, a couple of IPOs we'll be looking at as the day goes on. Phone.com, priced at $16 a share. I'll check in a bit for the opening price there. And OnlineTrading.com, priced at $7 a share ahead of the open. And the symbol there, LINE. That's it from here, Mark.
All right, thank you very much, Scott. Cohen at the NASDAQ market site. You know, just to give you an idea of what it must be like to try and make a living as a NASDAQ market maker. I've been watching at home. It went from down 4 3/4. The next tick was down 3/4. The next tick was up 2+. The next tick was down 3/4. I mean, those things really move around. I mean, it must be brutal to try and make a living. Phil LeBeau, he's at the CBOT. Phil, what's going on over there?
Mark, if you're looking for some direction from the bond market, I would not expect it today. We're down only 5 ticks on the session at 114.26, and the yield is just over 6%. Basically, we're at the same point we were when the PPI news came out, and there's a tug of war going on in the pits right now. There are a number of traders who are expecting these numbers to come in at the range expected and therefore lead a relief rally that could have pushed the long bond futures contract up into the low 116s. Well, the numbers basically came in as expected, but we haven't seen that relief rally. On the other end, there are traders who believe that the bond could go even lower. However, if you take a look at the slope of the long bond futures contract over the last 2 months, we are on the low end of the range, and many believe we're basically approaching a point where the long bond futures contract at 114.26 is approaching a point where it's going to be oversold. So you've got a clash of the wills going on here in the bond pits. As a result, very little movement. Again, we're only down 5 ticks on the session, and most traders do not expect much more movement on the day. We are at 114.25. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you very much, Phil LeBeau. Jim Bob Cramer, how about the bank stocks? How do you feel about those? Those are also
these
some
are
of
also,
your favorites.
you know, banks and drugs, really pretty much where I made most of my money during this decade. I'm very light in them. I own very few banks. Again, you don't own banks when rates are going higher. I can show you a million different empirical data pieces which would show you that that's probably doesn't make sense, that there are a lot of banks that do quite well in this environment. It doesn't matter. The stocks themselves is what I'm focused on, is apart from the company's earnings, just don't perform well in this environment. I've got a position in Bank of America, acts a little bit better, expecting maybe a buyback there, but I don't own any other banks. I own no savings and loans. You can't own them.
You used to like those.
Oh, that's 35% of my portfolio were smaller savings and loans. I've sold every single one of them except for a small one I will not mention because I'm afraid people will buy it.
Right. Let me ask you about Japan. Now, this is an area where you've felt there was a bottom, then you said, no, I was wrong.
You mean Japan, an area where I've waffled and sounded like everybody else in terms of being
I
wrong
believe
or right
so.
and wrong? Yeah.
Now we have the GDP number on the record.
I'm still in MBK, which I have said to you, and I have said now for 2 years, if Japan gets it right, Mitsubishi Bank of Tokyo is Citicorp in 1990. It's going to be your big hit. I'm still there. I'm up on it, making a little money, but I cannot say that I looked at this Japan GDP and say they're back. Much of it was government spending that ignited consumer spending. I don't know how long that can last, but I think Japan's bottomed. I think there's some money to be made. There's certainly a better acting market than our market.
Okay. Let's go over to the Mod Pod squad, see what's going on, what's moving aside from the lava lamp.
Well, the lava lamp is returned to normal, and AOL, I see, is first on your list as well, and it's not doing really too much. It's had a particularly bad run of things, down yesterday, of course.
It's up 1 3/4 right now, which is not getting back all of yesterday's 5-point loss, obviously, but we'll look at there's a 1-year chart. We watch it fairly closely as a proxy for the internet stocks.
Often ends up being one of the most actively, if not the most actively traded stocks on the New York Stock Exchange. Scott mentioned CMGI, didn't he? I think he did.
He did.
Not looking particularly good, although as you pointed out, it's very difficult to say they missed, they didn't. It's a holding company for a lot of investments.
And it moves around in large, 6-point moves or nothing.
Very similar to AOL's chart.
Well, all you need to know is that the high and low on CMGI, 165 on the high, 8 on the low. So it trades somewhere between 8 and 165, or at least it did in the last year or so. Yeah, exactly. I mean, depending on when they take gains from some of their investments, you can, I guess you could do almost anything you want with the quarterly numbers, but it is down today. Cleveland Cliffs is next, David. I know
Cleveland Cliffs is not open yet.
I know about Englewood Cliffs, which is right up the street. But Cleveland Cliffs, let me just give you I
didn't know there were cliffs in Cleveland.
36 and 11/16, not open yet. I don't have an indication, but the company did warn. Let's check out Vanity Fair, or VF. I can't call it VF Corp. It's the old Vanity Fair, and I have a mental block.
VF Corp, maker of jeans.
Yeah, for maybe 15 years.
It's been 15 years, hasn't it? Yeah, that it's been changed.
I think Vanity Fair is a magazine.
Yeah, but I mean...
One of your favorites, isn't
it? This was,
yeah. Well, it said that I liked my wife. That's about it. But everything else was pretty despicable.
So accurate.
Hey, you brought it up.
If you can't laugh about yourself being described as despicable, what can you laugh about?
I don't have an indication on VF Corp either. Genzyme is higher. 49 cents a share was above expectations for that biotech company.
On VF Corp, we should say, of course, they warned after the close yesterday, and then Prudential is among, well, is...
David, do net stocks need earnings? Is that what CMGI is telling you?
Oh,
eyeballs no longer enough? We need earnings?
I have long since stopped trying to draw any conclusions from the movement in net stocks with regard to...
Oh, really? About anything?
About anything. Yeah, I've no longer...
That's not our job.
I have stopped concluding.
Well, I'll tell you,
I
think we're headed into a new era.
Really?
Only guys going to make any money off eyeballs? Ophthalmologists. Getting away from the net.
No more eyeballs. How are we going to measure success here with the business models that are out there not going to work?
Could be money. Could eventually be money. Could come back to play, could haunt the .com business. You have to make some money.
Very interesting. You're hearing some interesting stuff out of Cramer there. I don't know if you noticed that.
I know.
Well, you haven't heard Cramer in a couple of months, though.
Yeah.
He had some interesting things to say.
Sterigenics. Sterigenics is being acquired. We might as well tell you that. S-T-E-R. It's up quite a bit today. Being acquired at $27. It's up 7, David, so you're probably excited about that.
I'm extraordinarily excited.
Ion Beam Applications is acquiring it for $27 a share cash in a deal valued at $235 million. But the stock is up quite a bit.
In fact, 35.5%.
Is this going to work? Oh, there it is.
There it is. Excellent.
36%.
Yes, 35.5.
Round up, especially with an
36.
Especially with an 8 there.
You got it.
It's not BT MCI, but David will still make big news with
BT MCI. That was a long time ago. Had a lot of good ones since then, Jim.
You have had.
Are we done?
Well, I'll just look at the active list to see if there's anything else happening, but I think we're basically, yeah, we're done.
We are finished.
We are done.
For this Friday.
They're on
June
the 1047 to what? To East Hampton?
To East Hampton, right? Yep. The Dow has asserted itself now to the plus side, as the futures indicated it would. We're up about 50 points now that all the Dow issues are open. I look at the NASDAQ top 20 capitalization issues, and all but 2 are up. So it's a pretty widespread rally. I look at the sector indices, and I can't find any that are down. We're going to take a quick break. We'll ask the Managing Director of Equity Research at Piper Jaffray for his thoughts. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Brought to you in part by Hewlett-Packard Business PCs.
A computer confronts failure. Failure attacks. An opposing force neutralizes failure, reversing its energy, rendering its intentions useless.
Running the unstoppable Windows NT. The HP Vectra PC with Pentium 3 processor.
Nope. Next. George Brown here. I doubt that one investor in 10 has the market savvy to trade with Brown & Company. Sorry, try Schwab. But those rare individuals who meet my requirements get what we believe to be the best deep discount package in the business. No, not you. They pay as little as $5 a trade. Sorry, not yet. How about you? Do you have what it takes to be a Brown & Company investor? Send for my free information kit. Welcome aboard. Your credentials are impeccable. Well, what are you waiting for?
Help you? King size, please.
Go, let's go. Yeah, how much? 30, 40, 15 bucks, 15. Plus the 20, right? The 20. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Now there's a better way to get money. GetSmart.com. Check us out on the web.
Years before America's electric cooperatives forged the nationwide alliance, Touchstone Energy, neighbors built their own electric utility to power lives and communities. Now Touchstone Energy cooperatives serve millions of homes and businesses. Customers large and small get state-of-the-art technology and affordable service. From the one-room schoolhouse to the communities and businesses of tomorrow, trust Touchstone Energy, the power of human connections. We are America's electric cooperatives.
No one looks at the markets with a more insightful eye than Barron's, offering timely coverage of stocks, bonds, mutual funds, everything investors need to stay informed. Subscribe now and you'll also receive this Barron's Stock Evaluator free. It lets your computer help you turn money into wealth. Get 13 weeks of Barron's and the Stock Evaluator all for only $39. Call now toll-free, 800-449-1700. That's 800-449-1700.
Programming note, in case you folks don't know it, CNBC has weekend business news programming. This weekend, we'll dig into the future of the box industry. Have they really seen their best days? We'll ask a top Wall Street tech analyst. Plus, next Wednesday, big consumer inflation report. It was last month's CPI that really started rocking the market. We'll ask a top Wall Street economist for his predictions about this month's reading. The weekend edition of Squawk Box is Saturday and Sunday, 7:30 Eastern Time. Small cap stocks are the way to go in this volatile market. That's our next guest view. Let's get the last word on the street before the weekend with Tom Schreier, Managing Director of Research, Piper Jaffray. Hi, Tom.
Hello, nice to see you.
Okay, so you're going to tell me the small cap story?
Well, what the small cap story is a story that's actually been going on for a little while here, while the big indices haven't been showing much strength because they largely focus on large cap stocks. The Russell 2000 and a lot of the small to mid cap stocks, which are right in our sweet spot, have been actually performing very well. In fact, if you look at an unweighted tech index, it's actually up, while some of the larger cap-weighted tech indexes are down. So I think it's actually a pretty healthy trend.
But Jim Cramer and I were looking at some charts before. Right. I don't see this being reflected in the performance of most mutual funds.
Yeah, I think that's because most mutual funds have a difficult time taking large positions in small to mid-cap stocks. By definition, you can't take a position that really moves your mutual fund in these small to mid-cap stocks, so that does create some difficulty for some of the larger mutual fund complexes.
Tom, you seem to be describing a change that would be pretty major and a reversal of what we've seen over the whole 90s, which is that it's the individual that's picking stocks. That's who buys these small and mid-cap, not the mutual funds. Are we going to see net outflows out of the mutual fund industry this year?
I don't know if we're going to see net outflows, but what we're going to see is a drop in some of the inflow to the mutual funds and a shift of that inflow to individual investors, which is in part the net investing concept that's been going on for a while. And I think it's just a natural part of where the marketplace is going to go. And, you know, knowing these mutual funds, they're very smart, they're very innovative. They'll find a way to play this, but it takes a little while to transition when the market transitions.
Tom, the market's been tough for the since the Fed announced that it was going to change the bias. If individuals start doing poorly, they go back to mutual funds, I imagine, or are they just going to stay at this game?
Well, that's an unknown at this point, but I think they're going to stay in it. I think the intrigue and the kind of returns that they've been able to achieve will keep them in it for a while. If they begin to see regular poor returns, they may shift back to the mutual funds. But I think what we're seeing is a phenomenon where people are putting their long-term retirement assets into mutual funds, and then they're taking a slice of those assets and they're moving them into individual investing. And that's not an unhealthy thing. I think it gives some balance to the market that a pure mutual fund strategy can't give.
Okay, let's talk about the small cap, mid cap arena. Where do you think we'll get our best results?
Well, right now in the tech space, we're seeing some shift out of the internet stocks into the infrastructure and telecom stocks. For example, a stock like TriQuint, which is a web infrastructure company, you know, as people, I mean, a wireless infrastructure company, people see the web moving to wireless. That's a nice place to go. Some of the software companies like i2, for example, that have become more web technology companies and less companies that do sort of traditional enterprise software, that's another nice place to go. Outside of the tech sector, if you move into the consumer sector, you're seeing strength in more traditional retailers that now are seeing the internet not as their primary thrust, but as another vehicle to actually generate incremental sales. So I think it's a natural evolution in a process that's just moving much more quickly than most other major shifts have occurred in the marketplace. The internet's causing a lot of different things that took, you know, 20, 30, 50 years to happen in the marketplace before that are happening very fast, and it's moving things around from sector to sector.
Tom, thank you for sharing your thoughts.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Tom Schreier, Piper Jaffray. Dow retreating now from the highs, but still up 27 points. NASDAQ is where the strength is today. The sector indices are all on the plus side, at least the major ones. We're going to slip in a quick break, then we'll go back down to the big board. Stay tuned.
In the world of international investing, leadership moves from country to country. Webbs lets you choose from 17 foreign equity index markets with one low-cost trade on the American Stock Exchange. Webbs, passport to international investing.
In 1948, who could have imagined the rage over TVs and PCs? FYI, Kemper did. With Kemper Technology Fund, $10,000 invested in 48 would have tuned you into over $6.9 million last March. Ask your advisor about Kemper's long-term investing.
What will it take to build this company?
To get ready for prime time on the web.
How can we do everything a little faster? Okay, a lot faster.
When they're looking for answers, more CIOs, more webmasters, more people look to Compaq than to any other computer company in the world.
Limits? What limits?
Compaq. Better answers.
Today on Power Lunch.
We'll take your questions about individual stocks, both large and small cap. So give us a call, send us an email. It's Stock Picking Friday.
Power Lunch, today at noon at CNBC. Profit from it.
Now
open the pod bay door, Hal.
What am I, a clown to you, huh? I'm here for your amusement? Funny how? How am I funny?
For people who really get into movies, we introduce Comcast Digital Cable, a way to get up to 170 channels and up to twice the movies, just $9.95 more each month, and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Houston, we have a problem.
Order Comcast Digital Cable today.
Tommy, Chucky, Phil and Lil, Angelica and Baby Dill. The Rugrats are in your house on pay-per-view.
Hang on to your diapers, babies! We're going in!
It's their very first movie for the very first time on TV.
We're doomed!
Join in the adventure.
Any further, I would have needed a fresh diaper.
Order the Rugrats movie. Pay-per-view makes it easy to bring home family excitement.
BBC Squawk Box. Televised live throughout North America, Europe, South Africa, and Australia.
All righty, let's go back to Martha McCallum at the big board for another check. Martha?
Hi, Mark. Well, we are off. Our highs up about 25 points. Let me give you an indication of where some things are moving. American Express has some nice upward momentum this morning, up 1.5 at 124 and 11/16. GE, one we've been talking about this morning, everybody's watching that $100 level for GE. It is staying above it, trading at 101 3/8, up about 3/8 this morning. So that's a good sign for GE. Pfizer also, we were talking about the level there being an important one to hold at $100. It is up 7/8, just fractionally. So Pfizer holding on to a little bit of a fractional gain there. VF Corp, we've been talking about. Let me give you an indication on that. Prudential cutting to accumulate from strong buy for VF Corp. Indicated between 42 and 45. The last trade there is 46 and 3/16. Also, MGM Grand not open yet. The board okaying a 6 million share buyback at $50 a share. It is indicated to open between 46 and 48. The last trade there was 43 and an eighth on MGM Grand. So we are looking at some positive momentum here. AOL up just a 16th. Really fractional moves across the board, though. We are seeing positive moves, but really fractional across the board. IBM up about a 16th as well. And Morgan Stanley Dean Witter is unchanged at the moment, 88 and 16ths to give you an idea. But we are seeing a little bit of strength in the financials and in technology stocks. Back to you, Mark.
Thank you, Martha. Up next, Kramer, one last chance to run with the ball. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. I should panic if interest rates rise, technology stocks fall, my daughter starts liking boys. Invest for the long term. Invest with discipline. AIM Mutual Funds.
A computer confronts failure. Failure attacks. An opposing force neutralizes failure, reversing its energy, rendering its intentions useless.
Running the unstoppable Windows NT. The HP Vectra PC with Pentium 3 processor.
My CD now, it's like a smoky downtown jazz club. It doesn't get hot until 2 a.m. Buddy Rich is banging the skins. Guys like Thelonious Monk and Miles Davis jam all night long. If things wrap up a little early, I just step outside for some fresh air from Shania Twain.
CD Now is music your way, a store where you'll find recommendations based on your taste. And now you can save up to 30% on everything in the store. Over 500,000 items.
What's your CD Now like?
It's time for E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. I worry when I miss the financial news, the world news, the basketball game. Invest for the long term. Call your financial consultant about AIM mutual funds.
All right, one last check of the cyber highway. Things haven't slowed down much. Usually we get a slowdown when the market opens. Things still pretty fast, 1 3/4 to 8 3/4 seconds. No one outside that envelope, by the way, no one unusually slow. DLJ Direct, the fastest with Daytech, Fidelity, Ameritrade, and Discover, also on the list of the top 5 fastest. Jim Cramer of Cramer Berkowitz, our guest host. I want to return to this issue of the small time, of the extended trading hours, because what you said, you will do well. Because it's the Badlands out there and you can assimilate information faster than anybody else. Suggested it might not be such a good idea for the average investor or trader.
Well, I think there's a lot of information that comes over the tape instantaneously. Let's say CMGI sees earnings, blah, blah, blah. And I'll know what the expectations are. I'll be able to react. There'll be other people who might not be able to react as fast. They'll have orders in there already in the books. The orders will get hit out or taken. This is the chaos that I see happening, is that the individual won't be able to take advantage of the news as quickly as someone in my position who's a professional and is just sitting around waiting for these expectations and knows where the bodies are.
Fair enough. What does this market need, in your opinion, to get back in gear?
First of all, this market has no pin action. For you bowlers out there, you know exactly what I mean. There's just, and you can't find pin action when it isn't there. You don't have it. We need to see the underwritings slow to a trickle, if not stop altogether. We needed to see the Fed take action at 25 basis points with a statement saying we think it's under control, but we'll revisit it otherwise. And then I think we could be back to the races again. But right now, to try to say that there is something happening and force a trade, you're going to lose money. And, you know, there are a lot of times when it's just great out there. This is not one of them, and I'm not going to try to tell you it is.
But as far as the Fed is concerned, your attitude is get it over with.
Get it over with. I mean, you know, now we got to wait for Tuesday's speech. Then we got to wait for Wednesday number. Once they clarify the situation for us, there's going to be a lot of opportunity again. Keep powder dry. This is not a bear market. It's going to be a bull market again, but we got to have certain things occur.
Okay, Jim, thank you. Our guest analyst, Jim Cramer, Cramer Berkowitz. This Saturday and Sunday weekend edition of CNBC Squawk Box. Saturday and Sunday, 7:30 Eastern Time. I'm Mark Haynes. We'll keep it going now by handing it over to the start to Liz Klayman for the start of Market Watch. Liz.
All right, Mark, thank you. Stay tuned because we have yet another economic number coming out. This time, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. But the big ones, retail sales and the Producer Price Index, are already out. And Kathleen Hayes will give us an historic background on the numbers. Despite the concern of rising prices, we'll look at businesses that are not threatened by the climate of inflation. Peter Bennett of State Street Research says this market is not done correcting yet. And in the second hour, managing your 401k, what to do in times of market turmoil. Next.
Closed captioning sponsored in part by 1-800-USSearch.com, the public record portal.
This is the CNBC ticker, your connection to the latest stock quotes. On the upper band, real-time New York Stock Exchange information. On the lower band, Amex and NASDAQ trades. Green shows a stock moving up, red a stock moving down. Next to the stock symbol is the volume of the last trade, with the 2 zeros missing. In trades over 10,000 shares, the zeros are not omitted. The S stands for shares, followed by the price of the last trade and the change from the previous day's close. And that's the CNBC ticker. Profit from it.
I'm a teacher. Like all teachers, my kids need a ton of support. This time, extra support came from an unexpected source. Dell. Dell came to see us. They customized the PCs we needed and had them installed. Dell delivered exactly what they promised. Seeing the spark of imagination solve a problem is beautiful.
Be direct. Dell. Dell desktops use Intel Pentium 3 processors. Hello, Ms. Gruber. Can I interest you in some wonderful opportunities in the stock? Ms. Gruber?
It's time for E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online.
All week, the markets have been awaiting the big number, the big number, the big number. Well, it's in, and it wasn't that big. Wholesale inflation remains in check, but the bond market is not finished worrying about interest rates and the Fed.
The sun was out, the air was warm, and Americans hit the road. Strong auto sales helped produce a surprise jump in May retail sales.
But is the nail biting over on Wall Street? 30 minutes into the new trading day, the Dow Industrials posting a modest gain of 23 points, the NASDAQ tacking on almost 10. Those stories and more coming up on Market Watch.
Good Friday, everybody. Welcome to Market Watch on CNBC. I'm Liz Klayman.
And I'm Kevin McCullough. Hi. Well, the government says wholesale prices rose modestly last month after a spike in energy prices in April raised fears of inflation. And retail sales also came in stronger than expected there. And joining us now with a closer look at the May Producer Price Index. You ready?
That's why my glasses on. Closer look. We planned that, right?
That plays. Closer look. Here's Kathleen Hayes.
Anyway, two big reports this morning, and as Kevin just told you, the producer price report was just fine for the market, up 0.2% on the overall producer price index, a measure of prices at the wholesale levels, the prices businesses pay each other. Take out food and energy, they're very volatile. The core rate rose just 0.1%. I think we have a picture to show you of how that number has looked over the past several months. You can see the PPI, some actual negative numbers, some declines that have helped hold the yearly rate down to a nice, unthreatening rate. No problem on the PPI. Food and energy prices rose. Prescription drugs were higher. But, you know, computer prices down almost 24%. They've really helped hold inflation down at the retail level and at the wholesale level. Now, it was retail sales that got people going. Retail sales rose a full % in May, and the forecast was for something like 0.7. Problem is, April was revised higher as well to 0.4 from 0.1. We had, as you can see, a really healthy gains in January and February. And then we thought March was a little weaker. It was a little weaker, but April and May looking stronger. And the problem is the Federal Reserve is looking maybe for the consumer to slow down a bit. The Fed is worried that if demand keeps up so strong, that eventually we're going to see more inflation. Of course, we're going to get the all-important retail price inflation number next week. That's consumer prices. Today, though, bond market just couldn't make any headway with retail sales looking so strong. In fact, let's take a look at the bond, see just how it's faring. Down 5 30-seconds. 88 and 20 30-seconds at 6.08%. That yield is matching, I believe, the high yield from 1998. A lot of people think that this sell-off in bonds, which pushes yields higher, is going to stop when the bond gets to 6.10. Remains to be seen. It's a Friday. Anything could happen, so stay tuned.
Okay, stock market made a little headway, but not much. Thanks, Kathleen. Kathleen Hayes on credit.
How is the stock market fielding the numbers? Investors have had a pretty good hour and a half to digest the economic report information, and it appears the specter of inflation isn't really as devastating as anticipated. Let's begin first with the Dow Jones Industrials, which, you know, over the past week you can see they went zooming down in anticipation of these numbers and now are ticking up just a bit. The industrials are up 21.5, but they were higher, so we're off our earlier highs. Dow Jones Transport's up 12, the utilities hanging on by just a fraction. The big board composite up 1 3/4 at 624.5. Trading volume very thin, 84.3 million shares being exchanged. We have 24 new highs, but 61 new lows at this hour. But advancers are beating decliners here. 562 issues unchanged. The NASDAQ in positive territory still, almost 8 points up. And as we move on to the broader market, it's a green picture, or in the black, as they would say. S&P 500 up almost 4. The Russell 2000 up almost a full point, and the Amex up 2.5.
That was before color TV. It's in the green. Corporate news. Columbia Energy Group is just saying no. The natural gas pipeline company has rejected a hostile $5.7 billion takeover bid from energy services supplier NiSource, saying it's not for sale. NiSource went public with its $68 a share offer after failing to reach a friendly deal with Columbia's board. Columbia Energy currently trading up just a steenth at 62 1/16, but you can see the run-up recently in our chart there. NiSource, which says it has no plans to give up its takeover attempt, currently off, but again, just 1/16 of a point at 27 9/16. It's been fairly steady for most of the year. 2 days after issuing an earnings warning for the second quarter, Lockheed Martin's financial problems could reportedly affect its plans to acquire ComSat. The Wall Street Journal says ComSat officials are now debating whether to renegotiate terms or possibly reconsider the proposed deal altogether. ComSat, a global satellite company, is the key component in Lockheed Martin's long-term growth strategy. And separately, a joint venture between Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman has won a 5-year missile contract worth up to $1.2 billion. Here's a look at Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman and how they've traded over the past 3 months.
We've got more deals rolling in to tell you about. Ford says it is buying Automobile Protection Corp for $180 million or $13 a share. Automobile Protection offers extended services and warranties to car dealers. Taking a look at shares of Automobile Protection, the ticker symbol there is APCO, down 13/30 seconds at 12 and a fraction there. And as we take a look at shares of Ford, which is trying to become more of a consumer company rather than just an auto seller, and that's why they're acquiring all of these companies, is trading off a fraction at 54 15/16. All right, every doctor needs a pharmacy. DrCoop.com is apparently no different, and the Internet medical and health information provider has now inked a deal with Drug Emporium. It's an electronic commerce alliance that allows Dr. Coop's users to have access to more than DrugEmporium.com's 20,000 discounted drug and healthcare products. Dr. Coop is a consumer health website that went public at $9 a share and then shot up as high as $16, currently trading at 17 3/8, up a full 3/4. And taking a look at Drug Emporium, which is the company with whom they've struck a deal, up 3/4 of a point at 11. Kevin.
Okay, we got the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment Survey numbers in, and to no one's surprise, I would think, consumer sentiment continues to be strong. In fact, stronger in June than it was in May, according to this survey. University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment for June, 109, up from 106.8 in May. Add that to your economic numbers du jour today. Now here's CNBC's Joe Kernan with a look at today's stocks to watch. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Kevin. Clorox is getting some comments from a couple of different brokerage firms, one positive, one negative, and it's kind of a net wash after all is said and done. It did open lower. It was down a little bit over a point. Now it's down less than a point. Prudential cut its price target this morning on Clorox, but Smith Barney added Clorox to its approved list. So net down about 15/16. So you can see since October when the market bottomed out, the stock's had a pretty good run, but then has sold off recently as some of the cyclicals have taken center stage. STM Microelectronics is responding now to, actually not responding to a Smith Barney recommendation. Smith Barney adding that stock to its recommended list, but nonetheless, as you can see, the stock is trading lower today, although I'm sure it's been, as you can see, it has been acting really well with a lot of the other chip stocks. As you can see, it's been really hot, and we're going to look at another one right now. Lattice Semiconductor. This is a 3-month chart to show you it's had a nice move up 2 3/4 today. Morgan Stanley restarting coverage of Lattice with a strong buy rating. Lattice makes programmable logic chips. eBay. Not only are we hearing it here, but also I guess the word is out that a system, the system has crashed and auctions have been suspended. We got quite a bit of people sending us emails about that fact as well. I think 8 or 9 hours the system's been down, and now it is hitting the wires, confirmed on some of the wires. Let's see if Cleveland Cliffs has opened yet. It has. It's down 1 7/8 late yesterday. That company warned that it would not be meeting expectations. VF Corp, similar comments, a pre-announcement that earnings would be below where the street was. That obviously is not open yet. That's why it says unchanged there. 46 was the close, 38 to 40. Now the indication on VF Corp, which was also downgraded today. So looks like if this were to stand where the bid and ask, where that range is right now, it would be down about 6 or 7 points. We'll see whether you know, that can move, and until it actually opens, you're not sure what the actual range is going to be. But at least right now, it's indicated sharply lower. Genzyme reporting second quarter net of 49 cents a share, 8 cents ahead of expectations for that biotech company. Sterigenics is being acquired. A Belgian company called Ion Beam is buying Sterigenics for $235 million in cash. That comes out to $27 a share. Sterigenics is a provider of contract sterilization services. Sounds neat. It operates 13 gamma irradiation facilities. Finally, Closure Medical is lower, sharply lower today after SG Cowan and Company downgraded that stock. They make Dermabond, that's the glue, the crazy glue that shuts incisions and such and wounds. And I guess the ramp up in sales of Dermabond not as positive as what Cowan had hoped for there. Liz, that's it from here. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Joe. Take note, both the Dow and the NASDAQ have flipped into negative territory. So you are hoping the correction is over? Peter Bennett of State Street Research out of Boston may change your mind. We're going to talk to him next.
And we'll also get you up to speed on Kosovo. The Russians want to be involved in the peacekeeping efforts on their own terms, and that's creating a snag.
And have you got problems with your email today? We'll tell you about a new virus at work that's creating a real headache for several major companies. Stay with CNBC.
Brought to you in part by Sun Microsystems.
Unleash power, sell more per hour, get business going, keep it growing, change ammunition, kill competition, unlock data, make profits fatter, take sharper aim, boost market gain, save more time, more peace of mind, forge better ties, economize, link devices without a crisis. Our technology is hot, we are the dot.
Introducing the Lexus Certified Pre-Owned One and Only event. Exceptional financing is now available on every certified pre-owned.
Hang on, we're Lexus. Let's do this with a bit more taste and refinement. The Lexus Certified Pre-Owned One and Only event. Purchase a certified pre-owned Lexus and take advantage of exceptional financing, now through June 30th. We hope you've enjoyed this performance. Good day. Only at your Lexus dealer.
Coming up on Taking Stock, Dennis McKechnie, portfolio manager of the PIMCO Innovation Fund, answers your stock questions today. Give us a call, 1-800-800-CNBC.
On Upfront tonight.
We called it the trial of the century, but what were the lasting effects on justice, juries, race relations in America? The O.J. Simpson trial 5 years after the murders.
That's on Upfront tonight.
It can be an embarrassing subject to discuss, even with your doctor. But impotence is an ailment which afflicts nearly 1 in 4 men. These men and their partners don't need to suffer in silence. There are many physical reasons for impotence. Our doctors specialize in identifying these underlying physical conditions. If you want to improve your overall sexual performance, make an appointment for a private evaluation. Don't waste another night. Be yourself again.
Open the pod bay door, Hal.
What am I, a clown to you, huh? I'm here for your amusement? Funny how? How am I funny?
For people who really get into movies, we introduce Comcast Digital Cable, a way to get up to 170 channels and up to twice the movies, just $9.95 more each month, and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Houston, we have a problem.
Order Comcast Digital Cable today.
Half after the hour, checking the Dow right now. We're back in positive territory, but it's been flip-flopping back and forth just in the last few minutes. The NASDAQ remains negative. Time now for a news update, and here's Alina Cho with the latest on Kosovo and the Russian participation in peacekeeping. Alina.
Thank you very much, Kevin. That's absolutely right. Good morning, everybody. The war is over, and the race is on to move into Kosovo. Officials have just told NBC News NATO troops are moving into Kosovo right now. We are waiting on specifics. Meantime, Russian troops are in Belgrade. They arrived from neighboring Bosnia earlier today. Moscow wants to patrol part of Kosovo itself without NATO control. Deputy Secretary of State Strobe Talbot is in Moscow right now for talks. The Russian move apparently a surprise to President Clinton. He is on his way to Missouri's Whiteman Air Force Base at this hour. He will be thanking stealth bomber pilots for their role in the war. Other news now, another computer virus to warn you about. This one's called the worm.explore.zip, and it's already hit a dozen countries. It comes disguised as a friendly email, as they usually do, but when opened, it hunts through a hard drive and wipes out many of its contents. In fact, General Electric, the parent of this network, had to temporarily shut down its email system after someone detected the virus. And at 15 minutes after the hour, it is time to go over to Joe Whitty for a look at your weekend forecast. What do you have there?
All right, well, worm.com, I guess, is not going to be an IPO then. Anyway, let's check out weather situation. Time to check in with Denver. Cool, 48 degrees and clear skies. Chance of some thunderstorm activity, up to 74 by the afternoon. Thunderstorms, yes, we have some of those in that same area we've had all week long, and some beneficial rains around Georgia and South Carolina moving in from the southeast. Severe thunderstorms a possibility just around the Denver area through western and northern Texas and also around Iowa. Airport delays possible there as pilots try to divert around those towering thunderstorm clouds. Saturday's weather map says beautiful weather once again for the northeast for about, what, the 5th weekend in a row almost. Saturday's highs going into the muggy 80s and 90s throughout the Ohio River Valley. That will help set off and continue those thunderstorms and showers into Sunday. And the West Coast looking pretty dry. And the Winston Cup on Sunday looks pretty good, though there is a chance of showers and rainstorm, and you got to put it about 50%. So there may be some slowdowns on the highway for that. And that's the weather across the country for the weekend. Liz.
All right. Thank you so much, Joe. Have a good weekend. Our next guest believes that stocks have more correcting to do. How much more? Here to share his market view is Peter Bennett, Chief Investment Officer with State Street Research. He joins us live from Boston. Good morning, Mr. Bennett.
Good morning.
More correcting to do. How much more?
Well, I think we could have a correction as much as 10 to 15%. We're already down 5%, so that leaves us another 5 to 10.
The market's been struggling this morning in the wake of these numbers that we've gotten, both the producer price index and the retail sales numbers. Do you seem to feel that the numbers indicate we have a lot of jitters related to inflation worries?
Well, I think that is the source of the jitters. Certainly, if you look at the news of the past couple of weeks, with long-term bonds now moving up to 6%, the Fed indicating a bias toward tightening, and now some inflation numbers that are a little bit stronger. Sure, I think we do have some jitters around inflation and the outlook for interest rates.
What kind of leadership, then, do you find in the stock market regarding sectors?
Well, one of the things we're seeing is, of course, interest-sensitive stocks doing poorly, and defensive stocks, value stocks, if you will, doing much better. Certainly the energy stocks have done well in the last few days, some of the foods, even some of the cyclicals.
You like CBS, Burlington Resources, and Aetna. Beginning first with CBS, what do you like about them?
Well, I like the fact that CBS is in the process of restructuring. You've got an aggressive CEO who really thinks about shareholder value. He's willing to buy in his own stock. He's made some aggressive acquisitions. They've got good momentum in the network, in the TV stations and radio. And it's a relatively cheap stock with good growth and cash flow.
And why do you like Burlington Resources during this time?
Well, it's a bit of a contrary stock. It's a leader now in exploration and production, primarily of natural gas. The stock has underperformed for the last couple of years. Gas prices are firming. Exploration is declining across the industry, therefore less supply. So I think the outlook for prices is quite good.
And finally, Aetna.
Well, Aetna is a real contrary stock at this point. It's become a healthcare company as opposed to an insurance company. It's really a large HMO. That business has been in serious trouble, as I think you know. There's some sign that prices are now beginning to improve, premiums, if you will. They're talking up 8 to 10%. And I think it's the case with the business having been so bad that it's now going to be quite a bit better.
Does the global economic picture have anything to do with perhaps Aetna's strength on the insurance side? Because what we've seen is if we could open China to trade, then we could see insurance companies who've been lobbying for that really start to fill up and get a little more turgid with that kind of business.
Well, I don't think so much so in Aetna's case. They've sold off the bulk of their insurance business, both fire and casualty and life insurance. But certainly for other companies that have more of a direct exposure to insurance, yes, I think it is an opportunity.
Where do you see the bond market going?
Well, I think the bond market has surprised people here a bit, having been as weak as it has with rates as high as they now are. I tend to think we've seen the worst of that, and that going forward here as the economy begins to slow, which I believe it's doing, that you'll see rates stabilize and then may head back down a bit.
Peter, thank you for joining us.
You're very welcome.
Have a nice weekend. We've been speaking with Peter Bennett of State Street Research live from Boston.
And up next, to get the early word on second quarter earnings with our prognosticators with panache. Bob O'Brien and Larry Bauman. Keep it right here. Market Watch is on CNBC.
George Brown here. If you've got experience, I've got one of the lowest commission rates out there. I've got a $5 online rate. You see, I think experienced investors deserve lower rates. So at Brown & Company, it's just $5 for market orders up to 5,000 shares. Why do I treat my customers so well? I don't know. Maybe I need my head examined. Ah, that's better. Brown & Company, where your experience pays off.
There are other means of communicating when your business can't depend on its internet service. But you can depend on UUNet, an MCI WorldCom company, guaranteeing 100% service, ensuring that your critical data gets there quickly and reliably. There are other choices. Then there's UUNet, the world's internet communications company.
I started Scottsdale Securities back in 1980 to give investors deep discounts on their trading commissions. Our plan was simple: deliver low commissions through personal brokers in local branches nationwide. That great local service works so well, we now have over 85 offices and are adding more all the time. And the best news is we're supporting Scottrade.com, our $7 internet trading through those same local branch offices. Online trading with a personal touch. Call now, 1-800-619-SAVE.
Man, that chili was hot.
You got heartburn too?
Yeah. Want to try these new Pepcid AC chewables?
It says you gotta take it with water. What's the water for? With Tums, you don't need water.
Just because new Pepcid is chewable doesn't mean it works like Tums. Tums calcium neutralizes acid fast. Pepcid Chewables famotidine has to go through your bloodstream, so it takes 40 minutes just to start controlling acid.
You want to go back for water?
Forget the water. Pass the Tums.
This is Market Watch. Seen live in North America, Europe, South Africa, and the Middle East.
You know, by the calendar, it's still a little early for companies to be giving the heads up on second quarter results. But, you know, if you have anything nice to say, you might as well say it early. And that sets the stage for today's early word. Joining us now with more on that, Bob O'Brien and Larry Bauman of Dow Jones Newswires, who usually love to muck around in the bad news, but today a little different. Larry has us off, starts us off with a harbinger of what's to come, huh?
That's right, Kevin, and they're giving a harbinger on their own company. That's Harbinger. They're a software and consulting services company for people who do e-commerce. The company sees its second quarter earnings at or above analyst expectations, expects its overall revenues to rise 15% from a year earlier. More significantly, it sees its revenues from its continued products up 40% from last year, and its revenues from its continued software products up more than 60%. The company also says its third quarter earnings should be slightly ahead of analyst expectations. Stock getting a very nice pop today, about 2 points. It's a gain of over 19%, but that stock is trading about 50% below its June 24th 52-week high. Another company with an outlook was the general division of Genzyme, the surgical and diagnostic products company. The company reiterated its 1999 earnings view of $1.85 a share, which is a gain of 25% from last year. The company also issued some pro forma earnings for its general division and its new surgical division. These earnings were made to reflect how the company's splitting up. Its surgical division had a first quarter loss of 73 cents compared with 62 cents in a year earlier, but the general division's earnings were 49 cents, up solidly from 31 cents. Stock is down about 19% from its late January 52-week high, but up over 1.5 points today, Kevin.
Both up. contrary to what the overall market's doing at the moment.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
Talk to your agent.
Dean Foods, indeed. There's actually, Kevin, a division of opinion on Wall Street about this. The company not making the earnings outlook, but this morning, Merrill Lynch bumping their rating on this to neutral. I'm sorry, to accumulate from neutral, saying that the company's fiscal fourth quarters look stronger than they had initially thought. They're now looking for 64 cents a share in earnings from 62 cents. And they've adjusted their final year figure. They said that Merrill said that acquisition costs in Dean Foods' favor, and they've got a favorable outlook for raw material prices. One interesting note on this, though, there's actually kind of a division of opinion that cropped up this week on this stock. Yesterday, CS First Boston cut their rating on this stock from a strong buy to a buy, though the curiosity, I mean, you've got First Boston turning a little pessimistic, Merrill Lynch turning much more bullish on this. First Boston's pessimistic rating is still higher than Merrill's upside rating. So just one of those little curiosities.
Go ahead.
Next up, Cleveland Cliffs, which to me sounds like they make a great minor league hockey team name or something. They supply the steel industry with iron ore. The stock off almost $2 here this morning at under 35 a share, heading back toward that 52-week low. The company coming out with an earnings outlook saying low sales and volume going to hurt their performance in the quarter. And here's a word for you: they're hot briquetted. I'm quoting from their press release: hot briquetted iron plant not coming online yet. And finally, Ackerley Group, perfectly appropriate to talk about these guys, given that the hometown Knicks are heading into what could be the final game of the Eastern playoffs tonight. Ackerley Group is a broadcasting and sports operation. They said that they own the Seattle Supersonics, and they said that because of the NBA lockout, which cut the number of games played, and the fact that the team did not make the playoffs this year, their sports ownership unit's going to come in $1 million or $2 million less in cash flow. That's going to hurt their earnings. Stock down fractionally here this morning.
Okay, thank you to both Bob O'Brien and Larry Bauman at Dow Jones Newswires. And I imagine if we follow usual course, we'll get more from them during Power Lunch on the halftime report.
That's right. Always exciting. Wall Street has the number it's been waiting for this week. Coming next, producer prices and how the market is reacting. Economists may be concerned about rising prices, but we'll show you how some companies are really not that threatened by the prospect.
Then it's on to Taking Stock. Dennis McKechnie, portfolio manager of the PIMCO Innovation Fund, is our guest. And you want to give him a call. The number is 1-800-800-CNBC. The Dow off 3, S&P's in the negative territory as well. All down now, NASDAQ down 13. You're watching Market Watch on CNBC.
Full-service and online traders are switching to JB Oxford and getting their first month of trades free.
Joyce likes to trade online, but Annie, she likes to get advice from a broker. So we both trade with JB Oxford.
At JB Oxford, you can trade for as little as $10 online, including free quotes, graphs, and news, plus analyst opinions. Compare that to other online brokers. JB Oxford beats them at their own game. Or you can get investment advice and trade with a broker for as little as $22. Compare that to similar services at traditional brokerages. JB Oxford beats them too.
I just think you like talking to Michael, your personal broker. So, you're busted.
Hurry, open an account now. To show you we mean business, your first month's trading is on us. That's right, a month of trading free. For personalized online investing, call 1-800-JB-OXFORD now. That's 1-800-JB-OXFORD.
Heading toward 29 after the hour, here's a check on the morning's most actives. AOL in a familiar spot, #1 on the big board. More Market Watch straight ahead.
Feminist Germaine Greer is back with a warning. Women should be angry again. She'll assess the state of womanhood today. Plus, tax guru Grover Norquist on the no new tax pledge by George W. Bush.
Play Hardball tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern at CNBC.
Open the pod bay door, Hal.
What, am I a clown to you, huh? I'm here for your amusement? Funny how? How am I funny?
For people who really get into movies, we introduce Comcast Digital Cable, a way to get up to 170 channels and up to twice the movies, just $9.95 more each month, and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Houston, we have a problem.
Order Comcast Digital Cable today.
Comcast brings you business. 24 hours a day of up-to-the-minute financial information. And now through InTheGardenState.com, you can follow the important business trends of the day, national and local business news, plus tips on how to improve your personal finance, all with InTheGardenState.com. Visit Abby Tools online at www.abbytools.com. Only through InTheGardenState.com, your neighborhood online.
30 minutes after the hour. Welcome back to Market Watch on CNBC, everybody. I'm Kevin McCullough.
And I'm Liz Clayman. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Boy, the Dow is really having quite a time this morning, churning to the positive side, then to the negative side. Right now, Dow Jones Industrial's down by 7.5 points. Of course, still digesting the numbers, the producer price index and the retail numbers. Dow Jones Industrial still down 7.60 at 10,613. The transports have lost their lead as well, clinging now to just a fraction of a lead. And the Dow Jones Industrial's utilities, rather, are down just a fraction as well. Moving on to the big board composite, down half a point. It's up half a point, rather, up at 623.40. Trading volume has increased to 141.4 million shares. The last 52 weeks, we have seen 32 new highs, 81 new lows for the past 52 weeks, and advancers and decliners about dead even, just separated by 10 issues, 583 companies unchanged. As for the NASDAQ, off by 13.5. Trading volume there, clipping along at 176 million shares. S&P 500 down a fraction. Russell 2000, more of the same. The Amex down a fraction, too. Let's take a look at the long bond. Down just one tick. The yield, though, at 6.07%. Kevin.
And it's the economic numbers that are moving things this morning. Two key numbers out today. Retail sales up 1% in May, stronger than expectations. Minus autos, retail sales were up 0.5%. So autos made up half the whole gain. April retail sales were upwardly revised to show a 0.4% gain. A producer price index, the Labor Department's chief gauge of inflation, one step shy of the retail level, climbed by 0.2% during May, left-hand figure. Minus food and energy, the core rate rose 0.1% on the right. Today's inflation report eased some fears about higher prices, but Wall Street can't breathe a sigh of relief until after next week's consumer price data is released, and I imagine we'll find something to worry about after that. Now, no one is predicting a rampant rise in inflation, but as Tim Tyndall reports, for some companies, a little inflation isn't such a scary scenario.
At Raritan Container, a small corrugated box manufacturer in central New Jersey, owner Sandy Newman didn't think her business was part of the global economy. Yet over the past year and a half, as the cost of paper has fallen, her prices remained the same. Now, with global demand firming, commodity prices have risen, and her suppliers pushed through a 12% increase on April 1st. So far, she hasn't passed this increased cost on to her customers.
We didn't need to roll them back all the way when they went down before, so we don't need to raise them that much.
But that won't be the case the next time. She can't absorb another increase.
Plastic can or corrugated?
Sandy and her husband Bernie bought the business in 1974, so they've been through plenty of business cycles. And after last year's deflation scare, Sandy's glad to see higher prices.
What would be horrible is deflation. When prices go down, that would be tragic. So if a little inflation keeps prices nice and steady, I think that's a good thing. I know that if I pay this much for my inventory and all of a sudden it's worth less, this is a bad thing. If it's all of a sudden worth more, this is good.
Sandy Newman and other business owners like her may think that a little inflation is a good thing after all those fears last year about deflation. But still, many economists are concerned about higher prices, their impact on the economy, and interest rates. Some experts say the strength of the economy has increased the odds the Federal Reserve will raise interest rates at its meeting at the end of the month. But Sandy Newman says even slightly higher interest rates wouldn't hurt her business.
I think the 3 decreases that we had were surprising. I didn't expect it. It was like a bonus. It was like a tax cut. And I didn't expect that to happen. And so if it goes back to where it was before, I don't think that would be bad. I was comfortable there.
Tim Tyndall, CNBC Business News, New Brunswick, New Jersey.
Interesting example. Now let's get more on Wall Street's reaction to the day's numbers. Bob Pisani standing by live at the New York Stock Exchange. Bob, we've been sort of all over the map.
Yeah, well, we're going actually pretty much along lines of what people thought yesterday, that if it was in line, we'd get a nice little rally that wasn't too great. If it was a little off, we'd be down a bit here, and if it was a lot off, the market would really get hit. And that's pretty much what we're seeing here. We were as low as down 15 on the Dow. There was obviously some concern about the numbers that were coming out, but not tremendous amounts of concern at this point. And we're in, I would say, a mushy situation right here, where the volume is, again, very much on the low side. Let's just talk about a few stocks, because we've been talking a lot about things in general. Let me just show you a few stocks that are moving here. RJR Nabisco here, it's at a new 52-week high. It reportedly will be paying a very large dividend on the order of about $3.25 to compensate shareholders for the divestment of that Reynolds tobacco unit. That's according to the New York Times. This is a new high here for RJR Nabisco, new 52-week high. By the way, this whole split occurs at the close tonight, but the stock's going to go away, RN, and you'll get two new stocks, NGH and RJR, both of them trading right now on a when-issued basis. And the decision is going to be made, by the way, I think it is July 28th is the date for the decision by the RJR Nabisco board about what exactly that dividend will be. But according to the New York Times, it's $3.25. CompUSA here, let me show you them. They're up. Now, you say, gee, a half a dollar, who cares? That's a lot for an $8 stock, and that's a noticeable mover today. There's some talk in Business Week this morning that a big office supply store might be interested in buying them. Staples, maybe, be interested in buying CompUSA. One money manager was quoted as saying that it could be worth $16 a share. So undoubtedly that talk in Business Week is what's moving CompUSA today. Clorox, you know, Clorox, if it closes here, would be at the lowest level since October. They have been selling personal care stocks rather seriously this week. Procter & Gamble's down again fractionally today. This despite the fact, and this is interesting, that Marshall Acuff and John Manley, both of them over at Solomon Brothers, added Clorox to the approved list today. Oftentimes that moves the stock on the positive side. It isn't doing much for Clorox today. Clorox is down today. Oil and oil service stocks are up. Oil futures are over $18 once again. Some of the foreign oil stocks, take a look here at Elf Aquitaine. This is one of the big international oil companies. It's a French oil company. It's up $2, up a little over $2 here. Apparently, they've lost a bid to take over a Norwegian oil company, Saga Petroleum. The board of Saga recommending to shareholders that they accept a bid that was made by rival companies. I think investors are a little bit relieved on that. This is an ADR, by the way. And you can also take a look at Royal Dutch, which is very, very close now to an all-time high on the ADRs here. So some of these oil companies are holding up very, very well right now. That's it from here. Kevin, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Bob. Bob Pisani. Bob Pisani at the New York Stock Exchange. Before we get to our next item, I want to tell you about a flash that's coming across the wires from Delta as it affects Boeing. Delta says it's told Boeing that it's going to defer the purchase of its B-77 fleet. Don't know how many planes it intended to purchase, but it's going to put them off for a unusual reason. Delta says it's citing a lack of agreement with its pilots union for that. Boeing currently down 3/16 at 42 5/8. So one thing affects another.
Yeah, labor problems certainly affect the airlines. Dennis McKechnie, portfolio manager of the PIMCO Innovation Fund, takes your stock questions coming up on Taking Stock. So call us now. The number is 1-800-800-CNBC.
And the death toll rises in a tragic gasoline fire in Washington State. Alina Cho with more on that and check of the other hour's other top news stories.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. College may cost over $100,000. You should gamble on a hot stock tip, put everything in a savings account, smile and heat up a bottle. Invest for the long term. Invest with discipline. AIM Mutual Funds.
I remember the first time I met Kevin. He was 16 years old. I asked him if he had any plans for the future. I said, go across the street and play games. I mean, I had no idea he was talking about that kind of future. We started spending some time together. I helped him with his homework. I got him thinking about a career. Then one day I took him on a college tour.
Wow, it's a great feeling.
He got a glimpse of what he could be.
College Bound is a mentoring program run by GE employees and retirees. Their investments of time in participating high schools have doubled college admissions in 5 years. And by the year 2000, GE employees will volunteer 1 million hours a year.
Seeing Kevin graduate from college was one of the proudest days of my life.
And when I got that diploma in my hand, I just wanted a way to say thanks. Becoming a mentor myself seemed like the best way.
Full-service brokerage as you know it is about to change. Introducing Prudential Advisor, the new choice for full-service investors. No traditional sales commissions, $24.95 for most trades, and an asset-based advisory fee. Plus the expertise of a personal financial advisor and online trading. Prudential Advisor. You'll never look at your broker the same way again.
The AIM Investor Pop Quiz. I worry when I miss the financial news, the world news, the basketball game. Invest for the long term. Call your financial consultant about AIM mutual funds.
The Dow is up 15 points, and the Nasdaq still in negative territory, off 10 1/3. Let's get a check on the latest news with Alina Cho.
Thank you very much, Liz. Good morning to you, and good morning, everybody. On this day 2 of peace in Yugoslavia, NATO troops are just 5 miles from the Kosovo border as Serb troops continue to move out. About 200 Russian troops are now in Belgrade. NATO confirms this, but says those troops are only preparing for the arrival of a more permanent contingent. Reports say the Russians do not want to be under NATO command, but the State Department says Moscow understands that will not be the case. Other news now, another person, an Air Force mechanic, has died following the Little Rock crash of American Airlines Flight 1420. That brings the death toll to 10, including the pilot. The plane, you'll remember, crashed off the runway, broke apart, and caught fire last week. In Washington state, a second person, a critically injured 10-year-old boy, has died in a huge gas explosion and fire at a creek in Bellingham. Another person was found dead at the scene. Thursday's fire sent a huge cloud of smoke into the air, prompting witnesses to compare it to the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Joe Whitty is here. Were you in Seattle for that Mount St. Helens eruption?
No,
Joe?
I was on the East Coast.
Oh, you were on the East Coast at that time? I was there. It was
right.
Unbelievable.
That lake that was buried,
right.
I caught my first fish in.
Oh, you're kidding me.
When I was a little youngster, yes.
You're a
anyway,
hometown boy.
Getting to the weather for those folks who are watching us in Europe, we find ourselves tomorrow with a forecast nice in Rome, 80 degrees. Paris looking for 65 degrees. Copenhagen about 67 degrees. And we have just in early this morning, at 8:30 this morning, the winter wheat forecast, 1.61 billion bushels. That's down about 14% since 1998. Now, let's take a look at the weather situation. Basically, we have a chance of some strong thunderstorms in the Rockies, but in the West Coast, we're looking good. 53 degrees right now, 74 Seattle. A beautiful weekend around Mount St. Helens, too. And then we find ourselves with a chance of some severe storms in the central and northern Great Plains states. For the week ahead, our weekend, the most important forecast. Saturday, rain showers from the Great Lakes down to the southeast, and temperatures will be warm and muggy, 90s and 80s all the way up through the Pittsburgh area. Should be a beautiful weekend along the coast. Sunday, more rain showers, and of course we have a little golf over the weekend too. So if you're headed towards the Bell South Senior Classic at Nashville, humid, 88 degrees with a chance of some afternoon thunderstorms. So get your golf clubs ready.
And your tennis rackets, too.
Yeah, that's too. Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. Hey, welcome to Taking Stock, everyone. Our guest today says the outlook for the tech sector is strong. He's Dennis McKechnie, portfolio manager of the PIMCO Innovation Fund, joins us live from the New York Stock Exchange. Welcome, Dennis.
Hi, thank you.
You know, when you say say tech sector, you cover a lot of territory. Where can you be any more specific about where within that sector you think the opportunities are strong?
Well, we're seeing the strongest strength right now within telecom. Fiber optic suppliers are doing extremely well. Cell phone handset makers, very, very well. This week, we even saw strength in semiconductors. Semiconductors, the worldwide forecast has been revised upward. And so 3 main sectors that the strength is in right now.
Okay. And among the specific stocks that he likes right now, we want to mention 3, and then we're going to take some calls. Jabil Circuits is first, JBL, Circuit Board Assemblies. Teradyne, TER is the symbol on that one. and it makes electronic test systems, and Siebel Systems, a software maker. Dennis, let's get to the phones here, and we've got Pam from California on the line. So, Pam, you're up.
Thanks for taking my call. I want your guest opinion on LSI, short and long term, if he can give me a price target, please.
Okay, LSI Logic is a semiconductor manufacturer. They make logic chips, which are almost a commodity. I would be very strong on it, both short-term buy and long-term buy, based on the fact that the Asian capacity has filled up, and so prices ought to go up for the space. No real target, just buy it now, and I think it's a buy short and long.
Okay, another California caller named Harry. Harry, your turn.
Question on AOL, please. Buy, sell, or hold.
Okay, AOL, if you didn't hear him there, Dennis.
Yeah, America Online, it's a favorite of many managers. It's also a favorite of mine. Buy short-term and buy long-term. My sense is that the bond market in interest rates that have gone up has been the main cause of the stock coming well off its high. I think the company continues to surprise expectations, and long-term their model is fantastic. Buy short and long.
All right, Vidula is in Pennsylvania with a question. Hello.
Hi. I have bought AT&T in early 60s. Do you see that moving in 70s, and about what period of time?
Okay, I didn't hear all of the points when you bought it.
AT&T is the company here.
Right. I would say AT&T, short term I would hold the stock if I owned it. Long term I would buy the stock. I like the combination. I like them buying cable assets. In the short term, though, I'm a little bit concerned about what it takes to consolidate those assets and get the system up and running. Buy it once you've got the evidence that it's working out.
Okay, one more, time for, and that's Chris in Florida. Hello.
Hello. Good morning, Kevin and Dennis. My question's on Oracle for the long term.
Oracle for the long term, definitely a buy. Short term, they're in somewhat of a transition as the ERP software cycle winds down based on the Y2K. There's softness on that end, but the e-commerce is picking up. And so we're in a bit of a transition short term, but definitely buy long term, and I think the stock will work by year end.
Okay, I have to wrap it there, but thanks for the opinions. Dennis McKechnie, our guest, portfolio manager with the PIMCO Innovation Fund. And later today, 2:40 Eastern, David Alger, president of Fred Alger Management, will be here in the hot seat for that edition of Taking Stock. And tune in Monday at this time when Jack Cunningham, portfolio manager of the Solomon Brothers Investment Fund, will be around then for Taking Stock. And straight ahead, winners and losers with Brother Kernan.
Both full-service and online traders are switching to JB Oxford and getting their first month of trades free.
Joyce likes to trade online, but Annie, she likes to get advice from a broker. So we both trade with JB Oxford.
At JB Oxford, you can trade for as little as $10 online, including free quotes, graphs, and news, plus analyst opinions. Compare that to other online brokers. JB Oxford beats them at their own game. Or you can get investment advice and trade with a broker for as little as $22. Compare that to similar services at traditional brokerages. JB Oxford beats them too.
I just think you like talking to Michael, your personal broker. So, you're busted.
Hurry, open an account now. To show you we mean business, your first month's trading is on us. That's right, a month of trading free. For personalized online investing, call 1-800-JB-OXFORD now. That's 1-800-JB-OXFORD.
Today on Power Lunch.
We'll take your questions about individual stocks, both large and small cap. So give us a call, send us an email. It's Stock Picking Friday.
Power Lunch, today at noon at CNBC. Profit from it.
The summertime music of the Beach Boys. Together with Creedence Clearwater Revisited. The beach meets the bayou with the Beach Boys. And Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
July 13 at PNC Vanguard Center. Get your tickets now.
Order any Comcast home theater, movie, or event and show proof of purchase for a buy one, get one free lawn seat.
Open the pod bay door, Hal.
What am I, a clown to you, huh? I'm here for your amusement? Funny how? How am I funny?
For people who really get into movies, we introduce Comcast Digital Cable, a way to get up to 170 channels and up to twice the movies, just $9.95 more each month, and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
Houston, we have a problem.
Order Comcast Digital Cable today.
For a quick look at this hour's winners and losers, let's check back in with our Joe Kernan. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Liz. We will start with an intraday look at AOL since it's been volatile today, and we'll see where it is now. It opened higher, was unchanged for a while. I believe it's trading a little bit lower right now. AOL is kind of obviously a proxy for the Internet Group, one of the blue chips of the group, and there it is. You can see it opened up when as high as 107.5, suddenly sold off and has actually rebounded a little, but we'll be watching that fairly closely. It's lost a lot of ground recently, down from around 170, I believe, around there, 175.5 was the high, and each week we watch it fairly closely to see whether it bounces off levels. It closed last Friday at around 118, so it so far not a great performance in the current week. Let me go back a little bit further, and it was at 136 back on May 17th. And if you just go back to the beginning of the month, at one point it was all the way up at 141 earlier, and actually 142 in early May. So it's been rough going for AOL shareholders. Every time in the past when the stock sold off, it was not every time, but if you added to your position, you were probably pretty happy. We'll see whether that turns out to be the case this time. VF Corp finally opened this morning. See second quarter earnings per share down 10% versus the year ago, and that includes some items. It did trade below 40 for a while. It's down 4 though now at around 42. MGM is the next one on the list. It's up 3 1/8, 7.25%. A $50 tender offer announced by the company for 6 million shares today. So you can see a pretty nice move. And for MGG, let's move on to Viacom, and we'll look at the B shares. That's the most liquid usually, up 2 5/16 after Merrill Lynch made some positive comments and raised its rating. Next, Federal Signal didn't open immediately this morning. It's open now. FSS makes and supplies public safety, signaling and communications equipment, also fire trucks, emergency and street sweeping vehicles, all kinds of things like that. And they warned that second quarter net would come in below expectations. And finally, kind of a complex story here about MBRS, Member Works down 5. Although the company wasn't named in any litigation, it is being affected by fallout from a Minnesota Attorney General's suit of U.S. Bancorp, and whether U.S. Bancorp sold some information to MemberWorks. It's complicated. Suffice it to say, the stock, Kevin, was down a lot yesterday, and it's down a lot again today. But the company wasn't specifically named in any litigation. Back to you.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Got to go. Another 11% hit on that last one. Still to come on CNBC's Market Watch, Internet venture fund CMGI taking a hit today. The company posting a wider than expected quarterly loss. We'll find out how it's faring in a live report from the NASDAQ MX market site coming up.
Brought to you in part by Hewlett-Packard Business PCs.
A computer confronts failure. Failure attacks. An opposing force neutralizes failure, reversing its energy, rendering its intentions useless.
Running the unstoppable Windows NT. The HP Vectra PC with Pentium 3 processor.
get me started on stockbrokers. I had one for the better part of 10 years. Let me tell you something. The only one who was broker was me. With Ameritrade, it's so simple. I sit down at my computer. I want to execute a trade. Couple of clicks, trade goes through. $8 a trade. I know that when I wash this boat, it's going to get done right. That's how I feel about Ameritrade. I know that when I make a trade, it's going to go through. I don't have to wait for a stockbroker to call me back. Don't have to worry about his commission. I don't need that extra stuff. I got enough to think about. Stay out of the street.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, where's my hug for your papa? Did you finish that book?
Oh, yeah.
Good. People talk about their finances. They say, I woulda, I coulda, I shoulda. You didn't read that book, did you?
I'll read it.
Not me, I'm doing it. I'm doing it today. My stockbroker said you're going to hate online trading. You can add that to the long list of things he was wrong about.
Call toll-free 888-798-0300 or visit Ameritrade.com. Ameritrade, the way to trade, period.
Minutes before the hour, the NASDAQ managing to get back into positive territory, but just fractionally so far. Had been weaker than that earlier this morning. Scott Cohn's manning the desk for us at the NASDAQ MX market site with some news on CMGI, which is an interesting company because of all the things they invest in. Hi, Scott.
Hi, Kevin. And I'll get to CMGI in a minute. I want to tell you, we got the number in and everybody was anticipating it all week long. The producer price index number came in basically in line with estimates. And so now what do you do? The answer seems to be, I don't know. Let me show you market breadth. It is positive, as the index is positive, but we have 2,100 issues unchanged compared to 1,500 advancers and 1,300 decliners. So the market is really kind of now just sitting here and waiting for the other shoes to drop, the other shoes being the consumer price index and, of course, the big Fed meeting at the end of the month. But a lot of the people that I've been talking with over the last couple of days have said that we have at least a quarter-point rate increase priced into this market, maybe more so than that. And there's some thought out there that maybe stocks will be relieved if interest rates go up, again suggesting that the Fed is acting to keep inflation under control. Inflation is an enemy of all kinds of assets. So we'll see. Now, the information on CMGI, of course, the company came out with a wider than expected quarterly loss yesterday. The stock is down, but off of its lows today. It got hit hard right after the market in Instinet trading, hit again this morning. CMGI is a company that invests in other internet companies, sort of an incubator type of thing. So a lot of analysts are saying, you can't point too much at the operating earnings, but the loss was twice what the analysts had expected. That is probably hurting the stock to some extent. Another thing that may be hurting CMGI and some of the other internet stocks is that we're going to get a change at the end of the day today in the Russell 2000. That's the index of smaller cap stocks. Some of these internet stocks have now grown so much in market capitalization that they don't qualify anymore to be small cap stocks. So they will take CMGI out of the Russell 2000. Other stocks, including E-Trade Group, Lycos, CNET, will be taken out of the Russell 2000 so that the index becomes more of a true small-cap index. Now, some of those other internet stocks are getting hurt on the day, but not nearly to the extent of CMGI. That's it from here. Liz and Kevin, back to you.
Scott Cohn from the NASDAQ. Have a good weekend. This is Market Watch on CNBC.
And it's heading toward 2 minutes to the top of the hour. Joining us now with a preview of what's coming up in the big second hour Market Watch. Ted David.
You made it in amazingly fast from 30 Rock to where you were watching Ricky Martin, I'll tell you. You can't afford to miss the next hour of Market Wrap. We got something for everybody. Let's run you through our guest list. Kevin Logan of the Dresdner Kleinworth Benson. He's on today's economic news and what it means for investments. And then Michael Scarborough, president of the Scarborough Group on managing your 401k, and Tech 99, the CEO of CompUSA. Don't miss it. We'll be back in a minute.
Closed captioning sponsored by 1-800-USSearch.com. Access public records.
I need to send a mailer to drum up business. Where do I get a list?
I get all these business cards, but I need more information. Who do I call? I need hot leads to grow my sales. How do I find them fast?
Go to InfoUSA.com for sales leads, mailing lists, business credit reports, free directory assistance and national yellow pages, free maps, free email, even send direct mail. Go to InfoUSA.com. 2 million customers can't be wrong.
Are you tired of seminars that claim they'll make you rich overnight? Would you like to make trading more than just a hobby? Then come to a free trading seminar from Omega Research. Discover how to take advantage of technology and the internet. Scan the markets in real time to instantly reveal hidden opportunities. Create trading strategies that get you in and out of the market profitably. All with the Omega Research Pro Suite 2000i. Seating is limited, so call now. 888-800-0585.
Politicians shouldn't raid the Social Security Trust Fund. They shouldn't be stealing from it, plundering it. That belongs to the American people. You know, if you put a pot of honey in a forest, bears are going to come along and put their paws in it. If you put a pot of money in Washington, politicians are going to come along and put their paws on it. And that's why we should phase in a new system where the bulk of your payroll tax, your Social Security tax, goes directly into your own retirement account.
After much anticipation on Wall Street, no major surprises in the first half of the government's May inflation report. But traders are still wary. We will tell you why.
And consumers are anything but cautious in May. Retail sales surge, a surprising 1%, led by strong auto sales.
The CEO of CompUSA's online store talks to us in his first live TV interview. Selling PCs on the web coming up in today's edition of Tech 99.
And 90 minutes into the new trading day, the Dow is up 63 and the NASDAQ is up just 5. Second hour market watch on a Friday starts right now.
Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome to our international viewers who join us each day at this time. I'm Consuelo Mack.
And I'm Ted David. And Wall Street is watching the latest readings on the economy, the producer price index, and the retail sales report for May. We'll have more on that in a minute. First, let's take a look at how the Dow Industrials have been trading so far this week. And as you can see, it has been a slippery slope, with Monday perhaps the peak of the week, Thursday the bottom. And we are now trying to climb out on this Friday. At the moment, up 66 points as we take a look at what the markets are doing. 10,684.59. Transport's up 8.43. A quick check of some of the standouts here. Chevron's up 1 3/16. Union Union Carbide is up 1 7/8. Merck is up a full point today. Pfizer, you want to call it a dead cat bounce, up 7/8 at 107/16. Transport's up 9. Utilities up 1.83. Big board's up 3.95 at 626.80. The volume 203.2 million shares. And I did not mean to imply, nor I hope did you infer, that Pfizer was a Dow 30 stock. Ed Caldwell in the control room. The breadth is currently positive, 13 to 11, 582 stocks unchanged. The way great minds work in sync. NASDAQ up almost 6 at 2490.48. Volume there, 236 million shares. S&P's up 9. The Russell's up just a fraction, and the Amex is up a full point today.
We've got you covered on today's big economic reports and Wall Street's response to the numbers. Our economics editor Kathleen Hayes has the credit market's reaction to the data, and Bob Pisani is at the New York Stock Exchange joining us. And Bob, you first. How are traders reacting to the news? Muted at first, but it seems to be picking up a little bit.
It is picking up a little bit. And it's somewhat surprising. Most of the people I was talking to yesterday felt that if it came in line, we would get a small rally here. It didn't exactly come in line, and it did drop early in the day. It's been coming back a little bit. And what I keep hearing is, well, we know it. Everybody admits consumer demand is still strong. The PPI is in the midst of a rising trend. Retail sales are still strong. And yet the stock market is still being framed in terms of the bond market. The terms of debate down here on the stock market are not will the Fed tighten, but will there be several Fed tightenings? That's what everybody's talking about here at the stock market. And that the bond needs to find some level to get the stock market to be comfortable. It used to be 6%. That's what everyone talked to me about. And we blasted right through it. So there isn't any enthusiasm for the stock market right now. Even the buy-side people I've talked to all week long don't have any enthusiasm and are not clear about what they should be buying. I want to point out, the bulls point out to me 3.8% is all the Dow is off right now. And the bulls correctly note that's not a big drop considering how much interest rates have risen. Back to you, Consuelo.
Bob Pisani, thanks very much.
And here we go. Time now to... isn't this great when they get to see the both of us together? All of us.
It's his turn to talk.
Joe Kernan now to look at today's stocks to watch. Stocks that are perhaps moving today, Joseph.
Some of them are moving, Ted. I wanted to talk about Ricky Martin a little bit. I guess we better not. Every generation seems to have a Martin, right? For me, it was Dino Martin. I don't remember if you remember Dino, Desi, and Billy. But
of course, I used to play them all the time.
How great were they? And then the previous generation had Dean Martin Sr.
That's right.
Now we have...
And in my generation in Consuelos, it was Preston Martin, but that's...
Let's start.
Yes.
That Fed music.
Yes. That wacky Preston. Let's say he can really belt it out, I'll tell you. Let's start out with ALSI, which I just actually took a look at this one. Advantage Learning down 6 1/8. You know, it seems like a big sell-off for a stock after the company merely says it's going to make an acquisition. It did sign a definitive agreement to acquire something called Generation 21 Learning Systems of Denver. That company develops software for web-based training. Now, the company did say it expects to take a $400,000 charge for transaction costs, but in the past, typically that could have, you know, if you acquire a web-related company, it might have moved the stock on the upside. Today, the opposite effect, down 6 points to 17.5. After all was said and done, National Semi is lower today. It looked for a while like the stock was going to ignore the 5th consecutive quarterly loss posted by National Semi. In fact, it traded up to 23 1/4, but it has now turned negative and is down 15/16. It's not too bad. It has done pretty well in the last couple of months with the rest of the chip group. VF Corp took a while to open today, but it's one of the big features, down 3 11/16 after warning of lower than expected earnings for VFC. And if you're not familiar with that company, you probably know that they, you might recognize Vanity Fair jeans, for example. They make and sell jeanswear, knitwear, intimate apparel, and children's playwear under the Wrangler, Lee, Rustler, JanSport, and, of course, Vanity Fair names. MGM Grand, another notable winner, up 3 5/8 today after the company announced a 6 million share tender offer at $50 a share. Sterigenics, STER, is being acquired by a Belgian company called Ion Beam for $27 a share in cash, and they do contract sterilization. Federal Signal warned, and it's a big loser today. FSS down 3 7/8. You can see it, big loser today. That's about 16%. Triquint Semiconductor, again strong today. It was up yesterday, Triquint was, and then they appeared on CNBC Squawk Box this morning. Maybe that's helping the stock a little bit today. And another chip stock, Lattice Semiconductor, is up on the session. LSCC actually has some brokerage comments associated with it. Morgan Stanley restarted coverage of Lattice Semiconductor, a maker of programmable logic chips, as a strong buy. That's it from here. Now, Ted, back to you.
All right, Joe Kernan, our stocks editor. Thank you very kindly, sir. Time to get a look at what's going on in the credit markets, reaction to the economic data out today, and economic data yet to come. Kathleen Hays, who's been on it since the stroke of 8:30 this morning.
And even earlier,
I'll bet.
I want to tell you. Anyway, the big news he's talking about, PPI and retail sales numbers out today. And joining me with his reaction and his economic outlook is Kevin Logan, Senior Market Economist for Dresdner Kleitmer Business. He's joining us from the NYSE. Hi, Kevin.
Hello, Kathleen.
So what do you think, Kevin? We got it looked like a pretty tame PPI, a lot of strength in retail sales. What are these numbers telling us about the U.S. economy?
Well, we still have a lot of momentum in the economy, particularly in the consumer sector. Consumer spending is running a little bit faster than the growth in income, and that's because of capital gains, not only in the stock market, but also in the housing market, which has been very strong lately. And for those people selling their homes, they walk away with some capital gains, too.
And you touched on it briefly, the stock market. A lot of people have been looking for the consumer to rein in a little bit. Is it mainly the stock market? Is it a tight labor market? Why does the consumer stay so strong?
Well, the stock market has remained strong. It's hardly down compared to a year ago. It's up. People probably still feel very confident because of that. And as I mentioned, the housing market's been very strong. That more people own homes than own stocks. So that also bolsters consumer confidence when home prices are rising. And of course, we've had growth in income and employment. That's adding to the regular flow of income that people have to spend. So we have a lot of momentum, and very little sign yet that it's going to let up.
What does this mean for the Federal Reserve? We're waiting for a meeting at the end of the month. A lot of people think their rate hike is a foregone conclusion. Does this retail sales add to that argument?
Well, it certainly does. It just increases the weight of evidence in favor of a rate hike by the Fed. The FOMC let us know that they're concerned about the growth of demand. And since they adopted that bias back in the middle of May, we've only had more and more data showing us that spending is strong. Housing sales surged. Now the retail sales data show increases that were higher than expected. There's nothing, and auto sales in May were a record for the last 10 years. So there's really nothing suggesting that the growth of demand is slowing down yet. So I think the Fed will certainly make the move, not only at this meeting in June, but again later in the summer to nudge rates higher, just to rein in the growth of demand a bit.
In the short time we have left, Kevin, why are they hiking rates with producer prices so tame and people even figuring that next week's May consumer price index will also be tame?
Well, they want to keep it that way. It's as simple as that. That their feeling is that if demand grows at the current pace, it'll eventually exhaust the economy's resources and its potential growth in supply, and eventually that'll lead to some inflation. Just as in 1994, when the Fed last tightened monetary policy, the economy was growing strong, and at the end of that episode, inflation didn't rise. One could look back and say, well, was it really necessary to tighten policy? Of course it was, and it was the tightening in policy that prevented a rise in inflation.
Spoken like probably the cautious people at the Federal Reserve. Thank you, Kevin. And that's Kevin Lovin we've been speaking with. He's the senior market economist for Dresdner, Kleinwort, Benson. Anyway, folks, that's why we've got the bond market struggling today. Tame PPI, retail sales just pointing to this Fed rate hike. More and more people on that bandwagon.
Good to see you, Kathleen. Come back again and do it again
I think I will. Maybe like Monday.
There you go. Maybe
11:10.
CPI?
Yeah.
Kathleen Hays, thanks.
Thanks, Kathleen. Think defensive, think defense stocks. That is what Marshall Acuff is telling clients this morning. Solomon Smith Barney's equity strategist says recent fears over rising inflation are causing undue market volatility ahead of the Fed's meeting later this month. And while his firm does not expect a significant move by the Fed this year, they do expect the market gyrations will continue until investors feel more secure. In the meantime, Acuff says defense stocks offer an attractive opportunity. Their business is immune from the economic cycle, and a rising defense budget should drive renewed revenue growth in the sector. Acuff is focusing on companies whose profits have the greatest leverage to defense. Among his top picks are Raytheon because of its heavy exposure to the attractive defense electronics segment, and Litton, which he considers well positioned to benefit from increased procurement spending. And that is this morning's call from Solomon Smith Barney's Marshall Acuff.
Just a quick moment here to tell you about something that's being done to help some of the struggling domestic steel producers here in the U.S. An independent U.S. commission offering relief to them as it approved punitive tariffs today to combat low-priced Japanese shipments of the main steel product. The action clears the way for the Clinton administration to order tariffs, perhaps as much as 67% within the next few weeks. The tariffs, which will effectively make Japanese steel more expensive, will likely be in place for 5 years. Quick look at some of the stocks we like to follow in this realm. Look at old Bessie here, only at 7 3/4, and pretty much trading sideways here since September, up an eighth on the session. And let's take a look at USX, and we get a picture of that as unchanged at the moment, with the hills and the valleys and the peaks. A little bit of a better picture here than Bethlehem, up a 16th now at 27 1/2. Well, Secretary of State Madeleine Albright addresses peacekeeping troops in Macedonia. Alina Cho will have the latest on that story in our next General News Update.
But first, let's take a look at some of the indicators that can give you a feel for where the market is headed today. As you can see right now, it appears to be going higher.
You enter the financial world in search of a secure future. Instead, you find chaos and confusion. 9,000 companies to invest in.
Market mania!
10,000 mutual funds to choose from. Bonds, T-bills, commodities, precious metals. With new and unfamiliar choices emerging every day. The possibilities are overwhelming. Fortunately, there is a beacon in this complex world. An expert partner who, for half a century, has helped tens of thousands of individuals and families find comfort instead of confusion. Come to the mountain called First Union. Or if you prefer, the mountain will come to you.
Still to come on Market Watch, the sex race payoff scandal at Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter leading to resignations, and then CopUSA hits the web. We'll speak to the CEO of the new e-commerce out
today on Power Lunch.
We'll take your questions about individual stocks, both large and small cap. So give us a call, send us an email. It's Stock Picking Friday.
Power Lunch, today at noon at CNBC. Profit from it.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! What am I, a clown to you, huh? I'm here for your amusement? Funny how? How am I funny?
For people who really get into movies, we introduce Comcast Digital Cable, a way to get up to 170 channels and up to twice the movies, just $9.95 more each month, and get a 30-day money-back guarantee.
You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good.
Order Comcast Digital Cable today.
Saturn of Brunswick has been servicing the people in the surrounding area for many years. We have benefited from the local community's patronage. That is why we believe in returning the favor. This is best represented by our development of children's playgrounds. One is at the Joyce Kilmer Middle School in Milltown. The other is in Cheesequake. Giving back to local communities lets people know that you see and understand their concerns. As a business, you need to know that you are part of the community. And as it grows, so do you. As you give, you grow as a person. That feels pretty good.
A live shot of the floor of a busy New York Stock Exchange today. Volume at 230 million shares. The Dow is up 58. The NASDAQ is up 2.44. Time to get a check on the latest news with Alina Cho. And as far as Kosovo is concerned, it would appear peace is at hand.
It does appear that way, Ted. Good morning, everybody. NATO says some 4,000 Serb troops have already left Kosovo. The rest have 9 days to get out. NATO peacekeepers, meantime, are along the Kosovo border at this hour, waiting for orders to go in. 200 to 300 Russian troops are in Belgrade today. Moscow wants to patrol a portion of Kosovo on its own without NATO control, but NATO is against that. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright surprised by the reports about the Russians today. She is in Macedonia today visiting American troops. She also visited a refugee camp home to thousands of ethnic Albanians. Here at home, good news if you're trying to kick the habit. For the first time in 20 years, the IRS will let you deduct some of the money spent trying to quit smoking. It includes prescriptions, doctor bills, and treatment facilities not covered by insurance. It does not apply to over-the-counter remedies like nicotine patches or gum. And interesting news, a brush with the law for Academy Award-winning director Oliver Stone. Stone is free on bail this morning after being arrested in Beverly Hills for driving under the influence and possession of drugs. Stone is best known for his movies Platoon, Wall Street, and JFK. And at 17 minutes after the hour, it is time to go back to the weather desk with Joe. What are you laughing about again?
That's right, Elaine. We're looking at the West Coast again. Seattle, 53 degrees. And Las Vegas, 72. Hot by the afternoon, 96 degrees. And right now, L.A. is in the 70s, warming their way up to the 80s. Now, big thunderstorms in portions of southern Kansas. Another one north of Omaha, Nebraska. All moving basically as they have been doing for the past, 4 days to the northeast into Canada. The risk area for some severe thunderstorms covers most of Iowa around the Des Moines area, perhaps to Chicago, perhaps to Milwaukee. So if you're getting away on this Friday, maybe some airport delays later on this afternoon. Chicago, well, under the gun for a kind of a cloudy, damp weekend as that system will slide over Chicagoland and bring them a chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day, Saturday into Sunday. Temperature-wise, we'll see that warm tropical air moving all the way up to the Pittsburgh area. Sunday's weather map says that rain pattern does not move very far to the east. That means a winter of a weekend for the eastern third of the country, and that means for New York City, we've got another pretty good weekend. Cloudy skies on Sunday may provide some rain showers, however. Consuelo?
No complaints here, Joe Whitty. Thanks very much. Well, fallout from the scandal at Morgan Stanley, Dean Witter. The chief legal officer is stepping down from her post, and another top lawyer is resigning. The shakeup comes after the firm paid an informant for information about Christian Curry, a fired employee who later sued the firm for discrimination. Senior correspondent Alan Chernoff has the story.
Headlines scrolled across Morgan Stanley Dean Witter's headquarters, blaring news of the resignations. Chief Legal Officer Christine Edwards is stepping down even though an internal investigation exonerated her, saying Ms. Edwards learned of the $10,000 payment to Charles Joseph Luthke less than 24 hours before it was wired. Edwards will stay with the firm in a part-time role as an advisory director. Luthke is the acquaintance of Christian Curry, who had told Morgan Stanley Dean Witter he could provide evidence that Curry was trying to break into the firm's computer system to plant racist and homophobic emails to bolster his discrimination lawsuit against the firm.
Morgan Stanley Dean Witter is laying the blame with Monroe Sonnenborn, the general counsel for litigation and regulatory affairs, saying he was the most senior person at the firm directly involved with the payment. Mr. Sonnenborn is resigning.
Carol Bernheim, who worked for Sonnenborn and had been suspended, will return to Morgan Stanley Dean Witter. Law firm Paul Weiss, which conducted the investigation, found there was nothing illegal about payment of the $10,000 to Luthke, but Morgan Stanley didn't tell the Manhattan District Attorney about it for 6 weeks, even though it had cooperated with the DA in having Mr. Curry arrested. DA Robert Morgenthau has dropped charges against Curry and is now conducting a criminal investigation into Morgan Stanley's behavior. The report found Morgan Stanley Dean Witter chairman Phil Purcell and President John Mack were unaware of the payment. But Charles Luthke continues to insist to CNBC that the two top executives were aware that he was going to be paid. Alan Chernoff, Today's Business, New York.
Coming up in the current volatile market climate, how should you manage your 401k? We'll ask the president of savings plan management firm the Scarborough Group next on Taking the Lead. This is Market Watch on CNBC.
A computer confronts failure. Failure attacks. An opposing force neutralizes failure, reversing its energy, rendering its intentions useless.
Running the unstoppable Windows NT. The HP Vectra PC with Pentium 3 processor.
We're not caught up in the hype of technology. We're just using it.
Corporations are slower than we are.
We are 1 million individuals.
We're modern capitalist mavericks.
We're shattering the old broker universe.
$7.95 stock trades, low margin interest rates, comprehensive research, SureTrade.com, a smart tool for smart investors.
I'm raising my stock to buy.
This is a stock to avoid.
In this stock market, there's no room for uncertainty.
The company announced
what we do is we produce advice. That is our primary product. This is when the work we do means the most.
I dig beyond the surface. What's going on behind the scenes?
Take advantage of all that Prudential has to offer.
A dollar sale.
We have the technology, we have the savvy, we care.
Invest with an edge. Invest with Prudential.
Welcome back to CNBC's Market Watch and Taking the Lead. Our topic today, managing your 401k. How should you handle your retirement portfolio in a volatile market? Here to offer ideas on 401k investing is Michael Scarborough, president of the Scarborough Group, a savings plan management firm. He joins us live from Washington. Always good to see you.
Good to see you, Ted.
Just for folks who aren't familiar, I mean, who are your typical customers? Who do you consult?
Our typical client is an employee from a major corporation who is participating in their 401k plan, who simply doesn't feel comfortable managing those assets. So what they do is they simply pay us a flat fee, and then we intercede on their behalf and do what they would do if they had the time or proclivity to do it.
And how much would that cost me?
It's a flat fee, $325 per 12 months.
That's not bad. You know what? Normally I don't do this, but I'm going to ask you the questions that would pertain to me because I got to figure they worry other people too.
Okay.
Really, and I'm a knee-jerk kind of person. I've been accused of day trading my 401k, and perhaps because I'm a little bit closer to the data here, I get nervous, I get scared. What I don't like happening is that X amount of dollars comes out of my check every week, and I should see that continue to move higher. But when there's a pullback in the market, suddenly one week I'm bereft of a couple of $1,000s. It makes me nervous. It makes me want to go to cash. What kinds of mistakes do people who have that kind of psyche make when managing their own accounts?
Well, I think your comment's dead on, Ted. Really what people shouldn't do is get a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, you have to take a look at what is your age, what is the time horizon that you have to deal with.